All right. Well, with that, I'm going to welcome people to Automating Success. And today we welcome Aaron Partridge, who owns Double A Landscaping. It's a thriving landscape company that's grown from its beginnings into a professional service provider for hundreds of clients annually. Aaron's journey in the landscape industry began as a teenager, like many of us, mowing lawns for neighbors, and his passion and dedication to the craft led to the evolution of Double A Landscaping, and it's now a full service company known for its expertise and customer satisfaction. Through his blog, Aaron also shares the latest tips and tricks in the construction and landscape industries, helping others achieve beautiful, functional outdoor spaces. Aaron was born and raised in Buffalo, New York, which I kind of hope we talk a little bit about some snow too, whether you do it or not, because you guys must get a lot of snow. And I'm passionate about snow myself. Aaron graduated from Liberty University in spring of 2022 with a degree in finance and accounting. And Aaron also joined the Greenbox team after learning about that business and its potential for rapid growth. Just so people know, Aaron also played competitive ice hockey for Liberty University and still enjoys playing the sport leisurely. He likes biking, camping, and golf. So, Aaron, how did I do? Is that you in a nutshell? I'm
You
sure there's so much more, but
yeah, you got it, man. Wow. Yeah, no, that's a little bit about me. Even caught, the ice hockey and the biking and all that kind of stuff. So that was a great introduction. I really appreciate that, Joe.
no problem. Yeah, here at Automating Success, we like people to know the human side of the company and the company that the human created, so that's why I like to throw those things in when I can find them. So,
For
and
sure,
I,
for
I
sure.
have to give a hats off to my team because actually I should credit my podcast crew to doing all that stuff for me. I just read it, you
I
know.
love it. I love it. I
Awesome.
love it. Awesome, man. Awesome.
So Aaron, what made you realize, like, man, I'm in love with this. This is what I'm doing. I mean, of course, you went to school for finance. You're a numbers guy, so it's probably explains why you're growing. But tell me a little bit more. To tell.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
go
for
ahead.
sure. So I was cutting lawns when I was in high school, and it was just me, right? I was rocking and rolling, mowing the lawns, and then I was playing hockey, so I decided to go to college and play hockey. And while I was in school, I had a couple guys back home who were, helping me out, and we were doing it in the summers and things like that. So, I was doing it while I was in school, and then after I graduated, it was a decent size at that point, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna, I like what I'm doing. I like landscaping, so I'm see where we can take it, and that's kind of how it unfolded to me jumping in full time after I graduated.
Yeah. So where did it start and where is it now, roughly? I mean, how many people are on the team? You said you
For
had a
sure.
couple people kind of doing it while you were at school. Go ahead and
Yep.
explain that a little.
Yeah, yeah. So it was obviously just me when I was in high school mowing lawns. I was doing about 30 lawns a week by myself. And then after that, I really started to buy equipment and invest in the business the year after I graduated high school. And I had probably about four or five guys working for me. And, while I was in school, it was growing every year, not considerably because I was still in school. So by the time I graduated school, we were probably about at 8 to 10 employees at that point. And, this year, 2024, which is 2 full years after I graduated from school, this year at our peak in the summer season, we had about 23 guys working with us. We were running 4 to 5 landscaping crews per day and 3 mowing crews. So really, really big jump from where we were at, just a few years back, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I really happy to see that. I mean, myself now, I'm kind of that middle market type size company owning Langton Group also, and I just hearing you talk, it just reminds me of my brother and I getting started. Actually, Aaron, if you're ever in Illinois, you're welcome to hit me up when you come and see our place. We have an old like weed eater, literal sit down tractor that my brother used to cut grass in our
That's
neighborhood with.
awesome.
So you're totally like bringing me almost down memory lane, with you getting started. And it's one of the reasons I was really happy, just for the people listening, to have Aaron on the show, because I think all too often, you know, some of us, we forget about the cycle and what brought us into the space in the first place, which is just being passionate about landscaping and enjoying it, right?
For
So,
sure.
so,
For sure.
so that leads me to my next question. So what is it about it that you enjoy the most, right? Is it?
Yeah. So I like everything, right? Like if I could be in the field all day, I would. We're at the point where now being in the field, I can't do it because then I'm just so behind on everything else and the team's not running smooth. So, I would love being in the field every day if I could, right? I love being outside. I love physical activity, all that kind of stuff. But also love the management side, right? And I love numbers as I did accounting and finance. So I like looking at metrics, you know, looking at the team's performance. I love sales. But probably the thing I like most is keeping it fresh and keeping it exciting, right? Whether it's a new software we're looking at or whether it's, a big job we're going after. That's the biggest thing that I like is, making sure that we have projects and things that everyone's working on that keeps the work environment exciting and keeps us shooting for that next level.
Yeah, it's great. So, you brought up that you're into the numbers, and so am I. So, you know, I'm going to make an assumption, and you can expand on it. You've already figured stuff out, like your fully burdened labor rate and how much it actually costs you to put crews on the road.
Oh
So,
yeah.
one of the things I like to get into, if you don't mind doing it with me today, is, the cost to entry in our space is pretty low, right? When
For
you're
sure.
just a founder doing it yourself, it's the truck you're driving anyways. But once you start adding the crews and investing back in the business, you start to notice that fully burdened rate really increases. So, you know, how'd you come about figuring that out on your own? Did you have any help, or did you do it from what you learned in school? And now moving that forward, what are some things you've identified in your growth?
100%. Yeah. So, school was definitely a big key piece for me because kind of a backstory to that is I went to school for entrepreneurship and I was planning to do entrepreneurship because I'm like, well, I'm doing this whole landscaping company, hopefully I'll learn something by doing entrepreneurship. And I was in an entrepreneurship and an accounting and finance class at the same time. And I'm like, why am I learning way more applicable things in my accounting and finance class than I am in my entrepreneurship class? So that's when I decided to make the switch and kind of go full bore into understanding the numbers of accounting and finance. And I think it's just, that obviously helped me really develop a strong foundation of understanding what a profit and loss and a balance sheet. But then it was just, that wasn't quick enough, right? When you review your profit and loss after each quarter, when you're looking at it at the end of the year, it's like, how do I get even more granular to looking at this on a weekly, daily, and even monthly, basis? So that was a big thing for me. And then I've also done a bunch of classes and seminars of, different metrics and, understanding what to look for because, right, obviously we talk about, man hour rate and things like that, but there's way more metrics you can look at and be monitoring and things like that. So I'd say, it's been a mixture of school and, different professional classes and reading books and all that kind of stuff that has really helped me develop, the understanding of metrics and numbers that we currently deploy in our own business today.
Yeah, I think it's actually really good that you identified why am I going to class about being an entrepreneur, because I believe you're either born one or you're not. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to do it or you don't. And there's just some things that you I'll back up. I believe a lot of people that play sports and played any type of team sport, you're pretty much taught to be an entrepreneur just by that team activity, right?
100%.
Uh, so when I always think there's this common relationship, and it's one of the reasons I always ask people what type of sport they're into, because I don't know that I've actually met an entrepreneur that wasn't into some sort of team sport at some point in their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, one of the reasons I like, I'll say it selfishly, I like to ask people about knowing their numbers. Of course, if you know who I am, I'm like the automation guy, right? I've taken my book of business and I've automated it. And the easiest way I did that was identifying how much money it costs me to cut an acre of grass, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So you said you break it down granularly, and I'm going to explain how I broke some stuff down for me. So I broke everything down. I do snow removal, we do full service landscaping, we do landscape maintenance, we do irrigation. And every one of those segments of my business, I have a different fully burdened labor rate. And the reason I did that is I know I want to make 19% or 22%, whatever I decide, depending on the year and external costs, what I want to do. Now that gives me my baseline to set that. But it's one of the things in 2016 when I saw automation and I realized at the time, now we do a lot of commercial work and we'll get into your customer segment, but commercially, I was cutting grass for 45 bucks an acre if I was bidding out on a commercial property. And I realized quickly I could do that with automation. So in your market right now, what do you think, the where do you need to be when you're winning bids? You can say vague because I don't want to give any secrets away to your competitors, but
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah. Typically, our man hour rates are anywhere from 50 to 70 bucks an hour. So that's kind of where we're at, what we're charging, depending on the skill level and things like that. Sometimes we actually track it down to where we figure out our actual labor hour, right? Because sometimes you bid it at that and then it goes over hours. And,
Yes.
you know, so we really break it down. We get super granular and I like that you're into metrics because we have a data guy who I hire overseas and he prints out a weekly report for me that I can look and see exactly which jobs went over man hours, which jobs had the best man hour rate, which employees were on the best jobs, all that kind of stuff. So I have this report every single week that I can look at, and it gives me a nice screenshot of exactly how the business is operating for each department.
Aaron, you're going to be just greatly successful in what you're doing because what you're already doing, it took me when I started my business, we really got rolling in '05. In 2015, I started doing everything you're doing. So I will tell you, you're years and years ahead of the curve. And so hats off, kudos to
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Um, I'll tell you how granular we've gotten now. Like that form, you probably saw the big smile on my face that you have. So what we do now is weekly. We actually have it figured out almost daily because sometimes you finish jobs daily, right? And at the end of the day, um, we're always trying to figure out how to present the information as soon as possible because, like you said, if you wait for a quarterly report, all a, you're getting a grade on what's already happened, and you can't
100%.
change quarter. Once you have one bad quarter, you're usually halfway. You're already it's too long to right the ship, right? So what we do now is our foremen when they come in, they see a metric. So like I said, going back to breaking down the labor rate, if we know that we want to be at $71 an hour to be profitable, every crew that's above 71 is written in green and their names are written in green, and everyone that's under is written in red. But if you're in red, you get to justify why you're under. So let's say that job site was muddy because it rained and they had to clean the street because they had to clean the mud for 3 days straight because we didn't shut the job down. Okay, you can justify that. And once we allow them to justify it, at the end of the day, all those metrics you're grabbing is just a way to keep score. And going back to the sports thing,
Mhm.
so many people are like, "Oh, how are your people going to react to the being so numbers driven?" But I tell them the same way they react in a game. When I played football, I'd look at the scoreboard and I'd see how much time we have left and how much time I had to win. Right. In practice, all you were looking at is how long till I get to go home. Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
So So, how do you get that information out to your people so if they're winning and they're losing, and how do you do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really like your strategy. Is that on a TV that
No,
everyone can
actually,
see?
we
So
still whiteboard it.
I
So I
love
got to
that.
tell you, yeah, I mean, we do, just so you know who you're talking. So we have anywhere between 155 and 180. That's about the size of my landscape company, and I still use whiteboard because at the end of the day. I haven't found a software company, and boy, oh boy, Aspire and Boss, they're all going to come out of the woodworks if any of them listen to this. But I haven't found one that can break it down as quickly as we can, just
100%.
by figuring out the job, knowing what equipment was there, and being done with it. So I still use the whiteboard, and
Love
it
that.
allows the guys to write to it, right in the room where they're assigned the jobs in the morning.
Yeah. 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 That's fantastic. I love that. We're not as good as you with that. We do it weekly. So what we do is we send the guys a report. We actually have a incentive structure built out for them where if they finish jobs under man hours, they get a little kickback depending on the percentage. So we send them a weekly scorecard, right? Of, hey, you're on this job, this job, this job, and this job. Here's how many hours we estimated at, and here's how many labor hours it took you guys, and whether they earned an incentive off of it. They can see all that right there. And one thing we do too is we show them what their actual hourly rate is. So we break
So
that
do
down
we.
for them
So
because that's the last thing we need is a guy, oh, he gets offered $1, $2 an hour more, when in reality, he's already making that at our company. He just doesn't even realize it. So we break that down with overtime and their incentives from the jobs, right? We show them what they're actually making per hour. And it's typically a dollar or two higher than what their base rate is. So that goes to show right there. They'd have to get offered $3 or $4 higher to even consider leaving where they're currently at. So that's something that we do on a weekly basis with all of our guys.
so Aaron, I love that you're doing that. And I want to add two things. First of all, you said I'm not as good as you are. You're not as good as my team is. It's Tanner and Hugo and Sean and Kylie. They're the ones doing all that stuff. It was just my idea. They execute it. So
Love that.
that's them, not me. I want to make sure because my people listen to the show and I want to make sure I recognize them. But secondly, I love that you brought up, and I wasn't even going to ask this question, but let's expand on it. The people jump and ship without realizing what they already have. And we had to do the same thing, and we're constantly doing that because we offer health insurance to our people. We're a large enough company. They get that benefit. And when other companies try to hire them, they forget how much money that benefit costs in an hourly. And then not to mention the people that get to take trucks and vehicles home or take a vehicle home with gas, because we do that too now that we have people reporting all over. Same thing, there's a metric to that too. So I think you're brilliant in making sure they know that, especially since you're growing. I mean, the biggest thing for any company growing is actually retaining its talent, and not having to retrain. So good for you that you're doing that. So do you do any snow, or is it all landscaping? Tell us about your services. What
Yeah.
services do you?
Yeah, so we're heavy landscape design, install, maintain, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of our core service. We do lawn maintenance, and then we also do snow removal. So in the past, we haven't done snow removal as big as I'm hoping to do it this year. We don't typically do any loaders or anything like that. So this year we're trying to go after it a little bit more than we have in the past, but we have done a fair bit of snow, and obviously salting and the whole 9 yards with the winter services.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we started as snow. So our start was actually snow removal. And then I got into landscaping in
Okay.
'05.
Okay.
Um, and, I'll tell you this, if you're debating doing it, I want to inspire you to do it because the snow removal industry, especially you, because you know your numbers. I'm always happy to help people that know their numbers get into the space because those are the best people to,
100%.
because you're not cutting off people's knees. You know your costs and you know
Right.
what it is, right? And
Exactly.
there's not a lot of people that are crazy enough to be up all night to plow snow, and Aaron, I got to tell you, snow removal is a young man's game. And as I look at this screen, you're a young man, so you should definitely consider doing it. So, are you in the Buffalo snow belt out there then, or
we
what?
we are. So we're a little bit we're right about north of the city or so. Typically south of the city gets hit a little harder than us. So Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It really hasn't been too bad though. Like the winters, we've had those couple big storms, but other than that, we didn't get a ton of snow. So, I'm okay with that. But yeah, we get hit pretty hard with the snow when winter comes.
Now, are most of your clients, are you doing residential, focusing on commercial, or what's your clientele focus?
So in the summertime, we're probably about 90% residential, 10% commercial. And in the wintertime, it flip flops. So we're about 50% commercial, 50% residential. This year, I actually have an outside sales rep who's going around and going door to door, business to business, getting bids for commercial properties. And who knows? Maybe this year we'll be at 100% commercial with
Yeah,
the rate we're getting these bids in. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, that's kind of where we want to be for the snow plowing, but
yeah,
it's just a matter. Takes time to get contracts and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. We don't really do any residential, especially for snow. It just doesn't
Yeah,
make sense.
yeah.
But commercials where it is, especially the de-icing portion.
Hmm.
If we won't even take into account if we're not salting it or doing brine,
Yeah,
we don't even
yeah.
do it. Um, so so if you chased any, I mean, we're talking about all the success, but of course, no one ever people that listen to these shows assume people like us are just reaping all the perfectly ripe fruit. What are some challenges you've had in growth?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest challenge is getting to the point where you can get out of the job, right? And delegating your tasks because you got to trust someone else to be able to do it as good as you and uphold your core values and all that kind of stuff. So that was a challenge, kind of stepping back from the jobs and getting out of the work. And I mean, other challenges are every day there's problems, right? Like this week, I just saw an email pop up while I'm on this call. You know, this week we've had so many people reach out about damage to their property from our guys, right? So, it's one of those things it's never gonna be an easy ride. There's always going to be challenges, always hard conversations that you don't want to have with employees, but you have to, right?
Yeah.
So there's many challenges. But the biggest one for me, I would say, is probably when I was younger. I mean, I'm only 24 right now, but when I was like 21, 22, is getting people to work, right? Because now they see where we're at, they see our trucks, things like that. But the biggest challenge is, I have so many buddies who are in the space and they're constantly saying, "Oh, I can't find anyone good to work," but they're not building the vision big enough and they're not really creating a career path, right? So once I figured that out and once we got some rapport and momentum going, it's been a lot easier to attract talent. So I would say that was probably my biggest challenge up and going is getting to the point now where people look and want to work here rather than having to really sell them on why they should work for our company.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. What you just said is so true. I mean, if people think you're just going to have a job that lasts a month or two, they're already looking for the new job before they start. If they know that you're going to keep them fed and keep them having a reason to come into work every day, um, yeah, you're going to be able to retain people much better. And I will say that I think that every company is running into that struggle as far as the workers go. Honestly, it's one of the reasons I got into automation. Um, I've told people I'd have 3,000 employees if I could find people that didn't want to just figure out who was going to give them the 25 cents more here and there and
Exactly.
just kind of go from place to place. You always have to look for those people that are part of the vision, understand what you're trying to build, and when you find those people, you have to hold on to them is tight and embrace them as long as you can because those people do not grow on trees.
100%.
Um, so what are your goals? I mean, what's like, so for me, I'll tell you, like in my automation space, I'm looking to build a $3 billion business. And when I tell people that, they're like, what are you talking about? But the reality is that's my goal. Now
That's awesome.
So it's like what's your goal for double A? Like what are you looking to do there?
Yeah, I'm looking to consolidate the space a little bit. So my goal is to have multiple locations across the East Coast. Our vision statement is we want to impact 250,000 property owners across the East Coast. And we want to do that by landscaping services, but we also want to look at other verticals of the landscape and outdoor industry, right? Maybe it's a supply yard, or maybe it's a store where they buy landscaping materials. And, so that way we're moving up and down the vertical of the landscaping industry and can kind of attack the whole market. So those are some of our goals.
Yeah, I mean, we should keep each other on speed dial. I mean, if you knew, so I've done that with my brother. So we started the snow, went into landscaping, went into irrigation, lots of opportunity in irrigation, and then we got a nursery. We have a 176-acre nursery. We
Awesome.
originally thought we were going to sell to the public. Um, that turned out to be not as fun as we thought it would be, but we convert. Trust me, that's a whole different space. But you do what you want out there. But I will say, what we do is we use that nursery for quality control, so we sell to ourselves.
Mhm.
So what's really nice is you have more and more salespeople, and you have your own nursery, and you grow your own plant product. You have control of inventory, and you have control of telling those people what inventory you want to move and what inventory you want to hold, right?
For sure.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's something to think about here in your ambitions and what you want to do, because it's very easy to do in our market. And then it's nice to have that hub spoke type of model, because when you open up that next company, your other company is actually that
For
company's
sure.
biggest customer,
For
right?
sure.
Uh,
100%.
so yeah, and then one of the ways that we did it too is in automation. So I'll go back to that with you is if you know your numbers, like I'll tell you this today, like you could partner with me, just putting it out there, it's right on the air, and I can cut grass automatically for $14 to $20 an acre in full subscription, right? Which means if you're at $40 an acre, you can be making $20 an acre and not even buy the capital, or buy the equipment and not have the capital outlay. So you had brought up that there was some, and what made me get into that vertical was what you brought up earlier, getting the complaint about damage. So I can tell you a little story. The first thing that happened for me was um, when I started to do automation, I tried to figure out who I was going to automate with. And I got a list of all the customers that had fired me for damage and maintenance.
That's
And what I
amazing.
did was I told them if I could put an automatic machine out there that was clonable, would they give us another chance? 18 said yes. And out of the 18 that said yes, 17 are still my customer.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm just going to
So,
kind of leave that for you to think about.
you guys cut all your lawns automatically with automatic mowers.
Not all of them. We're only about 25% automated. There's just some places that can't be automated right now.
Yeah.
So um, it's more of identifying what can be automated. So it's like, for instance, let's say you told me you got residential customers. What's the size? What's the average size of yard you have?
Um, Probably about a half acre.
Perfect. Okay, so a half acre, you could use a 520 Husqvarna EPOS. Oh, by the way, do they have a lot of tree cover, or are
Typically,
they
they're
pretty
pretty
open?
wide open.
Okay, so if they're wide open, you can use satellites. You can use a Husqvarna 520 EPOS, or you can use a Crest. Crest makes a half to three-quarter acre machine. So both those machines are between $2,500 and $3,000. And if you take your normal service contract, like if you're doing customers year to year, I always tell customers do a 3 to 5 year contract with me. I'll buy the equipment. You buy that equipment, and now that machine does the cutting. Your people still go and do all the string trimming, all the bed edging. They do all that other work, but the robot cuts the grass. Now, here's what it does for a guy like you, Aaron. It takes out all the environmental pressure. So, like, as I've been on the phone with you right now, I'm in Florida right now because I'm in multiple states, but I'm in Florida and it's raining. You probably turned me to look back a couple of times so I hear the rain hit the window, right? The If it was raining today, my maintenance crews wouldn't be affected on all my automation accounts because the robot's still cutting the rain. So I
So
have no one.
who sets the robots out there?
So, well, there's two ways to do it. My landscape company, when I started, I taught them to do it. Now I've actually transitioned it to where they just use automated outdoor because those are the robot techs. So basically, what happens is, like, I'll give you an example. I've got a customer in Florida, right? And that landscaper calls and says, "Hey, I want a robot at these 4 houses." We go out, we install it, and then they just make a monthly payment on the robot, and then they bill the customer on top. So like whatever. So let's say you're going to bill $200 for a yard, and I'm $100 for the robot. I charge you 100. The customer gets your $200 bill. So that's the model I've moved to. In the beginning, in all honesty, in 2016 to about 2020, I would find a couple of people, actually, usually my irrigation technicians, they would install the robots because
Okay.
they already know how to do low voltage cable. They already know how to do all that kind of stuff. So then I just use those people to do it. So that's what happens. And then once it's installed, you move to a model where you've got 50 to 100 robots getting monitored by one person. So their job turns into keeping the robot working.
Okay. Okay.
But,
Nice.
um, but like I said, I don't normally do a podcast. This sounds almost like an infomercial now, but I'm only bringing it up to you because you know your numbers and you're talking about different verticals. That is a vertical you should really look into getting your
Yeah.
company in,
Yeah.
especially because I'm assuming because your age, you have a lot of people that are your age working with you.
Yeah.
So I did an Indeed post, and I did a post for professional landscaper, full benefits, da 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 da. And in 1 week, I got 9 people that applied. Out of the 9 people applied, one person showed up for the interview. Okay. I did another post for robotic solutions expert. I got 39 applicants in the first day. Out of the 39 applicants, all 39 showed up with a resume.
That's crazy.
So, talking about what you talked about is talking to some people in the space, and they're looking for people and they can't find people because you're an anomaly. You you don't 24-year-olds that want to do outside labor are very rare nowadays. 24-year-olds that want to hold a cell phone in their hand most of the day, that
Yeah.
is what's coming out of school right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, you're totally on par with that.
Yeah. So, anyways, so I digress. We'll pull off this, but it's something that maybe off the show, you and I,
Yeah, man. Yeah,
you
we could
should
definitely.
totally come out and see me
I would
in
love
Illinois
it. I'd love it.
because I can show you. I think your mind would be blown. You
Yeah,
know.
that'd be
Um,
that'd be insane.
so you know, right now you're doing the numbers and you're trying to get out. So the people that you're finding, how are you finding them? Are they other friends of yours right now? Go into that.
Yeah, so we do a lot of Indeed. It's a lot of recruiting on Indeed. You know, we tried doing flyers and things like that. But I'd say Indeed is probably our best our best bet to find employees. I typically don't hire a ton of friends. For example, like my estimator, I recruited him. He was someone I knew that was in the space, and I went to him and recruited him. But typically, a lot of what we do is Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. When you first get started, you find some friends and stuff, but they're the hardest people to manage, right? How do you
They are.
separate the friendship to the actual work? So I understand. So has anything changed from your original idea when you got in? I mean, obviously businesses are constantly evolving, right? So
For sure.
yeah, through the growth, what some things you started thinking it was going to be one way and you've had to pivot and evolve?
Um, that's a good question. I guess just my overall strategy. Like the first couple years, I didn't really have a strategy, right? It was, oh, we're going out and getting these jobs done, making some money. Where in 2022, that really switched to, okay, let's put a strategy in place. Let's figure out what systems we're going to put in place to get to the next level. Because right when you're, a couple $100,000 company, it's just you and you're running around trying to get as much done as possible. Or now, right, I jump in the field and it's like, because I'm constantly thinking, I'm like, I could get more done not being in the field. Like, what is finishing this job gonna do to help grow the company? Like, it's not, it's just one job, right? Like,
Yeah.
so once you get to that point, it's like you got to make sure, like, I'm constantly doing time evaluations of where's my time best spent, what should I be doing on a daily basis, because ultimately that's the most important thing, is what are you doing to help prepare you to get to the next level? Because if you're not thinking about that, you're not going to get there, and you're just going to be stuck in the motions doing what you need to do every day.
Yeah, tell all young founders, and I didn't come up with this on my own. I had to get my attorney help me with this. What do you value your time at? What
100%.
what is what is the what is the number value you think you're worth an hour?
For sure. For sure.
What's the
You're
number?
asking me.
I'm putting you on the spot. What's the number?
I mean, probably at bare minimum 300 an hour, probably.
Yeah, so mine's 1,000.
Yeah.
So it's like it's and I suppose at the size you're at, 300 is probably fair. I mean, I look at it like this. If my attorney, here's the way you should look at it. Most business owners have an attorney. If my attorney's 500 an hour and I'm the one telling my attorney everything to do for me, it better be more than the attorney,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, for
right?
sure. Yeah.
So when you look at all these professional consulting agencies and how much you pay for a consultant, and then you realize you're the consultant to your people, it's probably north of 300, you know? And then once you have that mindset, that's what actually allows you to figure out what you should do and shouldn't.
For sure. For
So
sure.
I find myself constantly now, it's like, would I pay somebody $1,000 an hour to change this tire? No fucking way. There's no way. So I don't, right? Um, that's like what it is. So anyway, so I just figured I'd give you that little
Yeah, man.
thought process, because the other thing that's nice when you do that, it's really helped me explain to my people why I'm not going to do that. Because sometimes what happens when you're running a startup is if you don't do it, the people think you're acting like you're too good to do it,
Mhm.
right? So I always try to mix in like the days where I had the time, I'll do something with them.
Yeah.
But on the day when they think I should be doing it, like I've kind of taken myself out of the plow truck. Like there's no point for me to be in a plow truck. Um, but every now and then I'll surprise people and go hop in one, right? And and now when they see me in a front end loader or a plow truck, oh my gosh, their faces light up, right? Because when I was in it all the time, it was the expectation. And
Yeah.
now when I get in it to show that why I started the company is because I like it, that's powerful. That's worth $1,000 an hour.
100%. Yeah, for sure. And I would definitely feel the same way. Like for me, like, there's jobs where I jump on because partly because we have to have it, partly because, I want to make sure they know I can work and I'm not just the one telling them what to do. And, going back to snow plowing, I actually would much rather be on a sidewalk crew than in a plow truck, you know?
Well, you see a lot more what's going on the sidewalk crew. The majority of
Ex-
your slip and falls happen
ex-
on the sidewalk.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, 100%.
and the sidewalk labor is usually the labor that is the one hurting you the most,
A
you
hundred
know?
percent. 100%. So yeah, no, that's I'm with you on that. I totally agree. It gives the team a boost and is super important.
Yeah. So, you said your goal is to consolidate the space, right? So if you're going to consolidate the space, are you already looking into ways you're going to start doing acquisitions? How do you think you're going to consolidate it?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are looking to expand to multiple locations for 2025. So that's kind of going to be a pretty big off-season project. Right now we're in the bidding season where we're bidding a lot of snow work. So that's taking a lot of my time. Um, and once we get past that, that's when I'm really going to take a hard look and see whether we want to do just launch a branch, or if we want to look at acquiring a company in the locations we want to expand to. So that's kind of on the horizon over the next couple months. We don't have anything in the works right now. And there's also kind of a thing, a thought that, do you spend the money to acquire someone, or do you spend the money on marketing and buy your own equipment and do that kind of stuff, right? So it's got to be worth it for you, and it's gotta make sense. So it's definitely something we're going to be looking into in the near future.
Yeah, I think all those questions you brought up, it all depends on the market, right? Like
100%.
if there's already a lot of saturation in the market and you're just one more professional name in the space, well, maybe that's the market you do acquisition in because you
Right.
don't have to
Right.
be the new person. And you already have that team of people that understand the market.
For sure.
Um,
For sure.
I mean, I'll tell you, for me, I don't think anyone understands the market in Northern Illinois like we do. So I've never thought to acquire a company in Northern Illinois. That's where I'm going to use my name, the name recognition to keep growing that market. But on the flip side, moving around the country, if I wanted to start the landscape in Florida today, I would acquire a company there because I need to acquire, I need to get that professional knowledge of the different plant types, the
Yep.
different soil, the different way to lay pavers, because it's so much different. I mean, the way you're
Yep.
laying, I mean, it looks like you're wearing a Unilock hat, right? The
Yep.
the,
Yep.
the way you're laying pavers in Buffalo is probably similar to what I'm doing in Illinois, but in Florida, they just put a
No.
little more sand down and throw the brick down.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
You're not going to change the sub base. It's all sand. That's just
Yeah.
what it is, you know? So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so so that's where I think that it would make sense. So I think that you seem like an intelligent man. I think that you already kind of realize that, in your local market, your name will mean something. People will know that you live there locally and it's a big deal. So
100%.
I it all those things come and I'm not even done started doing that. I still, I mean, we've reached the size we are. I haven't acquired any company.
Yeah.
So it's been all organic growth just in that local market.
That's awesome, man. That's incredible. If you don't mind me asking, what revenue number you guys at?
Yeah, so we're doing about 10.5 million
Nice.
in landscaping.
Nice.
Um, we do about 5 to 5.5 in snow.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we are right now. Um, our goal organically, just to saturate out that market, would probably be to do about 20 million. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd be acquiring companies all over the country right now. My
Yeah.
my brother John Langton, I call the tether to my hot air balloon. He he kind of wears your hat. He's
Yeah.
our finance CFO guy.
That's funny.
And he's 10 years younger than me and has more gray
Okay.
hair because he says he pays my bills. So so
Exactly. Exactly. Is that
yeah.
including irrigation or no? Are those numbers
Yeah,
included?
that does include irrigation
Okay.
because that's technically in our maintenance
For sure.
enhancements, you
For
know.
sure. Yeah.
Um, Now my company, Automated Outdoor Solutions, that's a whole nother company in
Right.
itself.
Right.
And believe it or not, that company has a higher valuation right now than the landscape company does. Um, but it's because in landscaping, there's 600,000 of us that report our revenue, and there's probably another 250,000 that don't report at all, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you figure there's between 750 and 800,000 landscapers, there's probably five people that are doing automation right now, you know.
For sure.
So
For sure.
so
Yeah.
it's totally different market, but we but I mean I do believe, I mean, Aaron, one of the reasons I do the show is I think automation is a way to make our space more professional. I mean,
For
one of
sure.
the passions, what makes me passionate about doing this show is I live in a really nice subdivision. It's a country club, and I had somebody one day tell me that they assumed I sold drugs on the side because they don't understand how a landscaper lives in that subdivision.
That's
And
hilarious.
well, we're laughing about it now, but I was pissed off. When that person said that to me, I was thinking, you arrogant pile. I was really like
Yeah.
irritated by it, right?
Yeah. I imagine you were.
But what I realized is, landscaping professionals, we have environmental pressure to deal with. We have the same payroll and insurance issues and everything that any other business would have. Um, we have seasonal contracts. We have, there's so many things we deal with, right? and it affects that number yearly. But the first thing that's come to this market that's probably as scalable as fertilizing is automation. You know,
Mhm.
it's like if you fertilize, you can at the beginning of the season say, how much money is nitrogen this year? How long is that going to be locked in? And can I fertilize all four steps at this
Yep.
price? And you can lock it in. It might be the truly the only thing in our space that is, once you assign a metric to it, you should be fine all year.
Yep. Yep.
Then automation came about.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I mean, I love what you're doing. I would honestly love to take you up on coming out there and seeing what you got going on, because that's super impressive, Joe. Definitely interested to learn more about it.
Yeah, no, I would love to have you. And like I said, I mean, I do the show to just meet people like you, network with people like you. Um, because at the end of the day, if we want to move our space forward, we have to do it professionally and help each
For
other.
sure. For sure.
What I found when we open up the nursery is it's like I could call Wilson's, which is a local nursery here in Illinois, and be like, what are you selling an autumn blaze maple for wholesale this year? Oh, 225. Okay, perfect. Nurseries will do that all the time. They'll figure
Yeah.
out what somebody else is selling at and they'll set the price. Snow removal contractors, like I'm pretty good friends. I know he's in your market, but like you've probably seen he's been on the show. Josh Gamez has been on my show with East Coast Facilities. Same thing. If me and Josh are talking, we'll talk about what our rate is, and he's in Chicago now. You know,
Yeah.
it's like if we all are at the same rate to push snow, now it's just the people are making a decision what people they like better.
Yep. Yep.
They're not just price shopping, you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
so yeah. So to kind of get us wrapped up, um, I usually like to ask a little bit about someone's personal life. So are you still playing hockey? Are you still doing all the things that you love to do sport wise, or is it all
Yeah.
business?
No, I still play. I play men's league hockey, so I'm doing that a couple nights a week, staying active. And I actually this year I biked. I did my first century, so I biked 100 miles for the first time this year. So that was a good time and a big milestone reached. So yeah, still having some fun in there.
That's amazing. So I got to tell you, talking about your bike in the century. So I was in Nebraska. We have an account in Nebraska in golf that we automate. And I was eating dinner, and this guy started riding his bike in Colorado. I met him at dinner in Nebraska. We exchanged numbers, and a week later, he called me and told me he made it to Madison, Wisconsin.
That's crazy.
Dude, you want to talk about crazy? This dude used to sleep. So I asked him where he sleeps, and he says, oh, I just find a ditch and I sleep in a farm field.
Oh my gosh.
So he tells me the story about how he is sleeping one night and he gets woken up to this loud noise, and it's the frickin' farmer plowing the field.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, right? But so he told me that story, and I was like, you got to let me know you actually made it to Madison. And he called me and he made it to Madison. So maybe one day you'll be that dude,
Hey,
you know?
hey, you never know. You never know. So yeah, that's a crazy story. Good thing you didn't get run over.
I know that's what I was thinking, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yep.
all right. Well, with that, did I miss anything? Is there anything you want people to know? What's your website? How do people get a hold of you?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. You can shoot me a follow on Instagram, Aaron Partridge 47. Our company is AA Landscaping. We're in Buffalo, New York. We have a website, Facebook page, all that kind of stuff. Be more than happy to connect with any listeners that are, in the stage I'm at, or looking to grow to this stage. And, you know, other than that, should be good. Really appreciate you having me on today, Joe.
Yeah, fantastic. I loved having you on. Hopefully it was light and kind of just easy for you. I had a good time. Hopefully you did also.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was great. So really appreciate the time, Joe, and let's definitely connect here real soon.
Yes, sounds great. All right. Thank you very much. Well, with that, let's round out the show. Aaron, thanks again. Everybody that listened to me for another hour. I don't know how you guys keep doing it, but I appreciate you for it. And talk to you soon.